Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, it's you and us talking conference newcomers and long-term success. Also, our real feelings about the new Big 12. Therapy session up ahead on Locked On Texas Tech. Great to see you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. And always appreciate being your first listen on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. He's the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan, back once again to wrap up the week with you and your thoughts, questions, comments, allegations, accusations, seeking of clarification in the YouTube comments. Always appreciate those of you participating out there each and every day. Sound off anytime in the YouTube comments. Even had a friend this week, Chris, tell me he listens to the podcast, but then he heads over to the comment section because he wants to get on one of these episodes. We all need to dream big dreams, so keep on dreaming out there, buddy. Since you're a friend of mine and you told me that was your intention, you've got no chance. But the rest of you, you might have a shot. All right, let's kick this Fandango off, Chris, with this question from Out Far Texan, hopefully by his or her own choice. If you're in trouble, lost, stranded, or exiled, please let us know if you need assistance. This is the question. Who do you see having the most long-term success among the four newcomers to the Big 12? So we got Central Florida, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU to consider, Chris. And I think long-term is a key part of this. Not, I guess, necessarily a question about 2023, 2024, who's going to come in with guns a-blazing. But I don't know, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, who do you think has really sustained some success or who has the best chance? What was your first thought?
You know, and if you asked this question, Cowan, a year ago, I think the easy answer is probably Cincinnati. I mean, they had a big time coach in Luke Fickell. I think they were just, they played the college football playoff. They were kind of the one as far as the group of five teams that everybody was chasing. There was a nice stretch there. But I think I go back to maybe the first school that was really kind of pushing this, or I guess most recently, and that's to answer the question, man. I think it's Central Florida. I think they're the best of the four this year. I think they're because I'm sitting here looking at it right now. Back in 2017, they went 13-0. Then it's a 12-1. Then it's a 10-3. They had a bit of a dip in 20, which was a 6-win season, but they've had back-to-back 9-win seasons in 2022 and 2021. So that's a 6 or 7 year stretch where you've had your worst season was when you went 6-4, and I think that was maybe the pandemic year. But you've got 3 double-digit win seasons. You've got a couple of other 9-win seasons. I think they have a really good coach in Gus Malzahn that knows what he's doing at this level. I think Cincinnati and Houston are maybe I don't know if I say the worst spot of the because there was a time years ago Houston was kind of the one. They just were reeling them off, but it's been hard lately, and they don't have either the quarterback play or they graduated Clayton Tune from last year, where there's some uneasiness with Dana as the head coach, and he's like he's thumbing his nose back at any sort of hot seat talk and not being real nice about it.
Shocker.
Yeah, that's right. I love it.
I mean, they hadn't been in a major setting since I was an infant. It's been a while.
Yeah, no doubt. It's typically just been a program that you just roll out of bed and you win 9 to 10, 11 games. I mean, because their talent was typically better than everybody else's that they were playing. But I think it's kind of come back down to earth a little bit in recent. And I think this year it'll be a pretty interesting tell on kind of where they're set up. BYU is the tricky one. BYU has been really good at times, I think that they are very Midwestern with their style of football. Okay, with what I mean
Yeah.
when I say that, I think they've been kind of a story of college football, but they've had a hard time of like being able to sustain it. Like, you see some 6-1, 7-1 starts, and then they end up, because they always play. They're the school too that they're not necessarily going to have to adjust to a Power 5 schedule. They're already
Right.
playing 6 to 7, maybe even 8 Power 5 teams every year anyways. They've got some built-in Pac-12 schools that they're playing. They play Utah every year. They've played Notre Dame some, which is a Power 5 type opponent. So they're not going to have to, get used to the tougher schedule because they play an independent schedule.
True.
And so I would say that. But I'm going with Central Florida. I think we've heard a lot about their home field advantage, the bounce house. I think they have the coach. I think they'll be the best one this year, and I think they're the one that's built for sustained success going forward.
I think those had to be the two options, BYU or Central Florida. I think I'm going to go BYU, Chris, just because of inherently what I believe the foundation there to be. And much like you're talking about there as far as adjusting to the competitive strength, say, of a Power 5 schedule. I just think in general, I'm considering, fan base, support, resource, give a damn. Who cares about what their athletics department is doing among these four? And to me, BYU is still very much at the top of that list. And I don't even know if it's close as far as just the general athletics department infrastructure, if you will, history, fan base, alumni number, whatever you want to talk about. I think they've got the best shot at it. So BYU would be my answer, but it's the Cougars or the Golden Knights that I think are the choices here. And we'll find out what UCF is made of. I mean, Gus Malzahn, once again, this week is talking about, I'm tired of, the big three being the big three in this state when we've been better than those other three. Talking about Florida, Florida State, and Miami. Buddy, you're playing six-man conference football. I mean, who doesn't realize this difference? This is just part of the manipulative game known as college football. I mean, I didn't realize this was a real thing. They have a national championship placard in their stadium, apparently, from a season when they ran through Tom, Dick, and Harry University and beat them all. Kudos, great year, but let's get real. They may prove themselves, and I wouldn't actually be mad at it if they did, because you're going to need some quality programs to replace what you're losing in the Big 12 Conference, Chris. But they're going to have to do it first before I think I'm going to dive in head first. So I'll go with BYU here, but I think those are the two options that have to be considered. Let us know what you think there in the YouTube comments. Bigger picture, which of those four do you see having some success? And this question asked on the heels this week of some interesting numbers I saw from Brett McMurphy, Chris, who's kind of been doing a rundown of the experience of those who have moved into a Power 5 setting. Spoiler, it ain't been good. I would have gotten this right viewing Utah as the most successful. I just had a general feel that I felt like Utah has been more relevant since their move. And that is numerically how it works out. In the 12 years they've played in the Pac-12 conference, winning conference records, 8 of those 12. So not bad. You competed very, very well. That's the best of the best. And then there is a steep drop-off. Texas Christian would have also kind of given you that feel like, hey, they came to the Big 12, won a conference title, even before the run to the national championship game under Gary Patterson, had some really good seasons. 5 winning conference records in 11 seasons, not that great. Louisville, 4-9. West Virginia, 4 out of 11. Nebraska, 5 out of 12. And Nebraska, Chris, has 2 more winning conference seasons than the next guy on the list. Wait, let me take the graphic off the screen so you can see me smiling. It's the Aggies of Texas Agricultural and Mechanical University, who have been successful 3 times in 11 tries in the SEC. But don't worry about those other 8. It means more. So they still enjoyed those losing ventures. But I don't know that we'd be shocked by any of that, really. I mean, the worst of the worst, Maryland, Rutgers, they haven't had a season yet where they've been above water. Colorado, 1 of 12. Missouri, 2 of 11. A lot of this stuff was predicted, I think, whenever these moves came to fruition. And we asked, all right, how much is the fan base going to enjoy those bigger checks when they're out at the tailgate, but getting their teeth kicked in? And we probably have some answers now, because that's kind of been the experience, right?
And yet there's not anybody on this list that's going to, wish that they could go back to the way it was because they're getting paid well. Yeah.
Wait. Colorado's on this list, Chris. There might be one.
Fair enough.
There might be one.
Touche.
Okay, let's stick with
although they went from a Power 5 league to a Power 5 league instead of, but okay.
That's
You're right. You're right.
They went Power 5 to Power 5, then that Power 5 became a G5, and now they're trying to get back to a P5.
And I looked up real quick. I looked up the Central Florida, the 17 year when they won the mythical national championship, and they went 13-0.
Right.
Florida International, Maryland, Memphis, Cincinnati, East Carolina, Navy, Austin Peay, SMU, Connecticut, Temple, South Florida, Memphis, and they beat Auburn in a bowl game. So that gives you an idea of what. Yeah.
Hey, are they going to be the new Aggies? Just putting up things that don't exist on their stadium wall to celebrate? This could be our new Aggie.
That's a spicy bunch on the social media, man. I mean, and they have 60,000 undergrad. The Knights will be coming to Lubbock this year, and which I think is a sneaky tough home game. That'll be an interesting one.
Can't wait. And you need give a damn from these four newcomers. You need it as a league, so bring it on. All you got and then some. I hope we're seeing that in all four of those locales. Okay, next batter up. We're sticking with this theme, but Chris, they're asking for our real feelings. I think we have to lie down on the couch for this next one. It's Dr. Fraser Crane, and he's listening. Next on Locked On Texas Tech. But first, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. And right now is the perfect time to take your first swing and bet with FanDuel, because you could get 10 times your first bet amount back in bonus bets, up to $200. That's right. Just bet 20 and you're landing $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line, over-unders, or anything in between, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Download it today in the App Store or head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And of course, when you're a winner with FanDuel, you're getting paid instantly. Just one of the many reasons why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, and start the fun today with FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks for making Locked On Texas Tech a part of your day, whenever, wherever, however you're doing it. We're glad that you're making it happen. Subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. And give us a comment, question, anything out there, and you might wind up on an episode like this, voices from the YouTube comments, that being your voice. Here's the next in line. New kid, third, 33. He's like a Mason or something. As longtime Tech fans, he asks, or she, how do you two really feel about Tech and the new Big 12? Says he or she is a season ticket holder since 1981, and it's tough knowing how many good matchups we've lost over the years. Thank you for your many years of Red Raider fan service, first off. You've seen quite a few things since 1981 in Jones Stadium, and Jones Stadium has changed quite a bit all around you. But yeah, Chris, there's no denying it, man. Whether you're going back to the Big 12 or, good grief, if you've been in there since 1981, going back to the Southwest Conference, a lot have come and gone as far as what you anticipated as being regular appearances on your football schedule. And you got two more big departures coming up in the University of Texas and Oklahoma. There's no denying it. I think some of us maybe have already confronted that reality. Some are going to confront it when it's at our doorstep very soon. But things have changed in a large way, and we're kind of only at the beginning still of getting used to, I guess, a new normal. Have you reconciled with that just yet as a longtime Red Raider?
Yeah, I think I have. I think that, I've tried to find positives here. It's overall a net negative. There's no doubt about that. I think, it sucks. I mean, there's just no other way around some of the changes that have gone on. You kind of miss some of the tradition, because some of Texas Tech's best memories in football specifically are beating the Aggies or a win over Oklahoma or a win over Texas, and those are not going to be available to you going forward. But it's a different era. The playoffs are about to be expanded. I think you've invested heavily into facilities. I think you've got the right coach in place. And I think that your league is going to change a bit as well. And from the standpoint of not just losing Texas and Oklahoma after this season is over, I think there's obviously some chances that you're going to add a piece or four, depending on what this whole thing looks like. And so I'm not sure what that is going to entail, and it won't be what you're used to. There's going to be some newness here, and again, that part is frustrating. But I just choose to view it and try to find the positives there where there is some, and that you're still relevant. You're still in a relevant league, because I go back to, it was 2 years ago, whenever Texas and Oklahoma left, and you hadn't added these 4 schools, and you're feeling extremely vulnerable. Like, this, are we about to be in a league with New Mexico and Colorado State? Not to knock those programs, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a peg that you were about to drop down, but you're still hanging. You're still relevant, and but yeah, I think I've probably given you both sides of my thought process there, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, it's fine, it doesn't matter, or it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
No, it sucks. Nobody wanted this on this end of it. Make no mistake, nobody wanted this, but it's out of your hands, and it's like it's up to you to kind of figure out the best situation moving forward. And I think it's hard to envision a scenario where you haven't done that.
I think you and I are sharing a lot of similar feelings as far as accentuating the positives and trying to determine what those are. The fact number one to me that your conference will still have a path to the playoff is the most positive, because your conference is also losing like $175 million and a $220 million behemoth. So that path to the playoff just had 2 big rocks taken out of the middle of it, I guess. So we'll see what Texas Tech can do with that. If you can't do anything with it, then what were we talking about to begin with? I guess c'est la vie anyway, but hopefully you can do something with a bit of a new opportunity in that regard. But yeah, there's no way to ignore the disappointment of losing games with those that your fan base cared about beating. And I think it's a disservice to so many here in the great state who have been interested in these series and so on and so forth for so long. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that it will soon be Texas Tech and Baylor that will have the longest continuously running football series in the state of Texas, after some of these others will break up. But you should still have the Aggies on your schedule. You should still have the Longhorns on your schedule. Unfortunately, out of everyone in the great state, you smacked around the Aggies more than anybody not named Texas. So that's done you a disservice there as far as trying to get that one back. They are the epitome of lily-livered when it comes to something like that. And you consider the University of Texas, well, what's the win for Texas to play Tech? Hell if I know. That's my answer, but I'd sure like to do it again. You beat us a lot. Is that a win? Just check the win-loss record. There's the wins for you. But Chris, what is kind of ironic to me and funny in a very sad clown kind of way, like all the decades where you could have said as a Texas or say Aggie person, boy, we're in a different league. We're just of a different caliber. We shouldn't be toying with Texas Tech, so on and so forth. That actual assessment has never been more wrong than it is now. Like, Texas Tech is the closest they've ever been to being in those types of profiles. And by the way, they're still about $120 million behind when it comes to the University of Texas. Maybe, I don't know, 100 behind Texas Agricultural and MEC. But this is when you've been at your best, and still the best day is yet to come, as you're talking about investment and resource and so on and so forth. So there's no getting around the disappointment of it. I don't know what will change possibly as far as regular season schedules or non-conference series resuming maybe in the future. If you had any intention of better serving those in the state in which you reside. You would think that would be of some importance, but so far it has not been. So I don't know that I expect it to change. We'll just have to get to the playoff, I guess, if you want to see one of those games. But we just gave you some of those numbers. You think you're going to see the Aggies in the playoff? Maybe up in Section D. I don't know. You can wave to some of them if you make it there. But yeah, no way around it. Disappointing and a big loss, not only on the field or entertainment-wise, but economically as well for the city of Lubbock and some others who are not going to have these types of games on their schedule. Appreciate the question and hope that we can all reconcile our feelings on this matter very, very soon. Come to grips with it, man. Denial is the worst stage of grief. You want to get out of that one very, very quickly. All right, we're back to wrap it up with a basketball question and an answer to a question of ours. We're getting to it next on Locked On Texas Tech. Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Wrapping up the week with questions, comments from you. And we're switching gears here to wrap up our episode today, Chris. A hoops question rolling in as Grant McCaslin and the Red Raiders continue to be busy rounding out the roster, rounding out the coaching staff. And here is the question. This is from GAC Farmer, GAC Farmer. All right. Are y'all worried about Tech basketball's lack of size? I think we're going to wish we had more when Big 12 play gets here. Watching Locked On Texas Tech every day, GAC Farmer says, and once again proving sucking up can give you a better shot of getting on an episode like this. Thanks for being out there and watching every day. Now, this process is not over, Chris, as far as rounding out the roster, so we can't say at this time we know exactly what it's going to look like when you tip things off later on. But it does still seem like, particularly with the Deshaun Jackson news and things like that, size still remains a priority. But I don't know what the odds are of packing more in. How are you seeing the lay of the land here?
Yeah, I think I think the reality is that, you know, you're going to be a bit, I don't know, undersized. I think this year, I think that's a fair question. I think that it basically, it's going to come down to, you know, Robert Jennings and then your signee from Finland that came from the prep school. You know, those are going to be the guys that are going to have to fill that void. And then can Kyron Lindsey maybe play a bit bigger than we think? Can Devin Cambridge play a bit bigger than we think? Because you don't have other than Warren Washington, you don't really have another, you know, traditional or experienced big. I mean, Robert Jennings is going to be as close to that as possible. And look, you're still, and sometimes I look at this as in like, you know, size. You could have 3 6'10" guys on your team and still be undersized. And what I mean by that is, do you have size on the wings, size at guard, you know, and like I would say if you add Joe Toussaint, you know, then I mean, you're definitely going to be undersized. It doesn't mean that you won't be tough or be able to defend or whatever. But I mean, we talked about this a bit last year with Pop and Davion Harmon on the court at the same time. I mean, those are 2 6-foot-ish guards. And again, I think, you know, think about it. It's like, I mean, Kevin McCullough, who's 6'5", is going to guard one of those guys for Kansas. You know, you've got guards in this league that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". I mean, Mike Miles was arguably the player of the year last year, and he was 6 foot. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But size isn't just about the post. It's about how much length you have on the wing, because the team the last team that you had that went to the Sweet 16 2 years ago, they had as much size as any team I've ever seen for Texas Tech, and it wasn't, and they didn't have anybody that was really 7 foot. They didn't have. I mean, Bacho was the next tallest guy. He barely played. but they were 6'6" across the floor, and like their starting center was 6'8", 6'9", and Bryson Williams. But it's like they would just swallow you up. Terrence Shannon was long. Kevin McCullough was long. Adonis Arms was long. Davion Warren, and on and on and on it went. And it was like, ooh, they look good getting off the plane and walking on the court for warm-ups and all those kinds of things. That's why, the Darian Williams and the Devin Cambridges, those guys, they need to be in the size conversation because they are the 6'6", 6'7", guard wing type guys, and I think that plays well. That actually goes against the argument that you don't have enough size. I just wish maybe you had, and again, maybe Kyron Lindsey can be more of a wing or play bigger than he is at the 6'6", 6'7" range as well. Anyway, I get the concern. I think it's very valid. And I think, but with this last spot, you're simply trying to add the best player that you can, and one that, you can help your team out immediately, or otherwise you may end up holding that scholarship. But I certainly get the concern about lack of size. Heck, man, there's a lot of things like on paper that you could kind of point to and go, I wish I had more of this. I wish I had more of that, but you can't have it all.
Okay, thanks for the question, and wrapping it up with an answer to our question earlier in the week, Chris, talking about what would it look like to consider Texas Tech football back on track. And here is the statement. This is from 21 Zane Palmer. Not 21 Zane Palmers, one Zane Palmer who may be 21. By all objective measurements, wins, recruiting, fan base, morale, heck, even new stadium construction, I would say it's fair to say we got back on track starting with last season. Now the old Tech train is picking up steam, baby. Woo, woo. That was more a police siren. I got to work on my steam horn. Horn? Good grief. Have I ever seen a train? I know nothing about train analogies. What is it? That was more Yin Yang Twins. Again, I've never heard a train. All right, there's the answer, Chris. We're already back, considering what was involved with last season. He kind of paints a bigger picture, but it would be good for everybody to know, I thought, to wrap up the week. We are back. So take it to the bank. You feel good about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable in saying you're back yet. I think, look, you've won back-to-back bowl games. You own the state of Mississippi in that 2-year span. I just want to see a bit more, and I'm ready for you to kind of be a bit relevant. I mean, it's not too far removed from feeling like very vulnerable last year when you're sitting there at 4-5 going, ruh-roh.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So I'm trying not to get caught up or ahead of myself a bit. You win 8 or 9 this year and look pretty good doing it, and I have no problem with the statement at all here. I really don't. I think that at that point, it would have been a 2-year body of work with the same head coach. I think they would be headed to their 3rd bowl game in a row, and that would become a bit of the norm. So I think I'm just wanting to see a bit more before I make that statement. And again, I'm trying to hold. I don't want to lower the bar. I mean, since when is Texas Tech football just like, man, if we just win a couple of seasons, we're back. This is where we want to be. No, I'm trying to push forward. Let's go achieve something. Let's go play for a championship. Try to win it. That kind of thing.
That would be nice. Zane, go ahead and do your thing. Speak it into existence, and we'll come back around whenever we're sitting there at, 7-8-0, hitting November or so, feeling good, and we'll give you a shout-out later on down the road. So stick around for that. All right, it's been a great week. Lots of fun stuff to discuss, and enjoyed it all the while. Chris, thanks for the time as always, man.
Enjoy the weekend, people. Stay out of the sun. If you're in it, use some sunscreen. Stock up on the sauce for July 4th coming up. Save that money for the bottle rockets, and be smart with them once you use them.
That is nice advice from Dr. Level to wrap up the week. We will see you on the other side prior to the 4th of July. We've got Explosion to discuss coming up on Monday, so hope to see you then. For Chris, I'm Casey. Have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us all week long on Locked On Texas Tech.